Tonight, we're going to a night market. Not a modern one, one that existed 1,000 years ago, in a city that never slept, long before the rest of the world knew that was possible. Before we dive in, where are you watching this from? Let me know your city and local time below. Also, have you ever been to a night market? What do you remember most about it? Leave it in the comments. And if you want more nights like this one, subscribe. Settle in. This story is 1,000 years old, and it deserves to be told slowly. Now, close your eyes. Imagine a city of 1 million people. Not 1 million people spread across suburbs and highways and satellite towns. 1 million people inside the walls. Living, working, arguing, cooking, buying, selling. All of them together in one place. Now imagine that city at night. Not quiet, not dark, not asleep. Alive. Torches burning along every major street. The smell of roasting meat drifting across the river. Somewhere in the distance, a drum. Somewhere closer, laughter. The sound of a vendor calling out his price. One more time, just one more time, before the night gets too deep and the customers stop coming. This is Bianjing, the capital of the Song dynasty. The year is somewhere around 1100 CE, and this city, this impossible, magnificent, exhausting city, is the largest and most sophisticated urban centre on the face of the earth. Nothing else comes close. In the cities of medieval Europe, the streets empty at dark. Doors bolt. Candles go out. The night belongs to monks and watchmen and people who have no better option. In most of the ancient world, night is the end of the day. But here, in Bianjing, night is something else entirely. Night is when the second city wakes up. The stalls that fold away at dusk are replaced by different stalls. The crowds that thin after dinner fill back in. Different crowds, different purposes, different hungers. The river market that sells fish at dawn sells lanterns and hot wine by midnight. The same streets that carry merchants in the morning carry storytellers and gamblers and families out for something sweet in the hours before sleep. Bianjing has abolished the curfew. It has torn down the walls that once kept commerce locked inside designated zones and daylight hours. What grew in their place was something no city planner designed and no emperor fully intended. What grew was the night market. Tonight, we're going to walk through it. Not all of it. No one could. Not in a single night, not in 100. Bianjing at its peak stretched across 40 square kilometres and held more people than any city in the world would hold again for centuries. But we will follow 3 people who knew it well. There is Chen Wu, who has kept his roast meat stall at Zhouqiao Bridge for 10 years. He knows this stretch of river the way you know your own kitchen. Every smell, every sound, every regular face. Tonight, he will work from dusk until the 3rd watch, and he will not stop moving once. There is Wei Ming, who came from a small town in the provinces to sit the imperial examination and failed. He should have gone home. He didn't. He stayed, and in staying, he began to see this city the way only a person with nowhere better to be can see it, slowly, carefully, with nothing to lose. And there is Wang Po, who has run her pharmacy and spice shop on Mawang Street for 20 years. She is a widow. She is, by any measure of this era, operating in a world that was not designed for her. She does it anyway. She has suppliers in 3 provinces and a daughter who helps with the accounts. And she knows exactly what the night market is worth because she has calculated it herself in ledgers, in copper coins, in years. 3 people, 1 night, 1 city. We will not rush. The night market of Bianjing does not reward rushing. It rewards the person who stops at the stall they almost walked past. The person who lingers at the edge of the crowd to hear how the story ends. The person who lets the smell of something warm lead them somewhere they didn't plan to go. That is what we're going to do tonight. So let your breathing slow. Let the sound of wherever you are begin to fall away. The torches are lit along the bridge. The river is dark and full of reflected light. Somewhere ahead, Chen Wu is calling out his prices for the last time before the crowd arrives. Let's go find him. There is a bridge at the centre of Bianjing that everyone knows, not because it is the most beautiful bridge in the city, though it is beautiful. Not because it is the oldest, or the largest, or the most carefully engineered. People know Zhouqiao, the Zhou Bridge, because of what happens around it. Because of what it smells like from 3 streets away. Because of the particular quality of noise that rises from its banks every evening as the sun begins to drop behind the city's western rooftops and the second shift of Bianjing's commercial life prepares to begin. If you want to understand the night market, you start here. You start at the bridge. The bridge itself spans the Bianhe, the Bian River, at the point where it cuts through the heart of the imperial city. The river is not decorative. It is a working artery, carrying grain barges and coal shipments and bolts of silk from the southern provinces up into the capital's warehouses and markets. During the day, the water traffic is relentless. Flat-bottomed boats jostling for position, boatmen calling warnings across the water, cargo nets swinging out over the river's edge and coming back dripping. By evening, the barge traffic slows. The serious commerce of the waterway gives way to something lighter. Smaller boats appear. Food vendors who've set up floating stalls, their lanterns reflected in the dark water below. The smell of the river, which during the day carries the honest odours of labour and cargo, begins to change. It begins to carry smoke. Chen Wu smells it before he sees it. He always does. 20 years of working near fire has given him a nose that functions like an instrument. Not just detecting smell, but reading it, measuring it, understanding what it means. The particular quality of smoke rising from the charcoal in his brazier tells him how hot the fire is without looking. The smell of the fat rendering off the meat tells him whether the heat is even. The first faint drift of other vendors' smoke tells him how long he has before the crowd arrives. Tonight, the smoke says 1 hour, maybe less. He moves faster. Chen Wu's stall has occupied the same position on the eastern approach to Zhouqiao for 10 years. Not because the spot was assigned to him. The night market doesn't work that way, not anymore. But because he claimed it, held it, defended it through competition and reputation, and the simple fact of showing up every single evening without exception for a decade. The spot is good. He knows it's good. The eastern approach catches foot traffic coming from 3 directions. South from the main commercial boulevard, east from the residential wards near the river, and across the bridge itself from the western markets. Anyone moving through the centre of Bianjing after dark passes within 20 metres of Chen Wu's brazier. 20 metres is close enough to smell it. Smell is how he sells. The setup takes the better part of an hour, and Chen Wu does not waste a movement. The brazier first. Coals ranged in a specific configuration he developed himself over years of adjustment. The airflow calibrated to produce a heat that is intense at the centre and moderate at the edges, so he can manage different cuts of meat simultaneously without burning the thinner pieces. The grate goes on next, scrubbed clean from the previous night and seasoned with a cloth dipped in oil. Then the meat. He sources from 2 butchers, one for the pork, which he prefers from a supplier 2 streets east, whose animals are grain-fed and produce a fat that renders cleanly without bitterness, and one for the lamb, which comes from a trader who brings animals down from the northern grasslands twice a month, and whose product Chen Wu considers the best available in this part of the city. He is not wrong about this. His regulars know the difference, and on the nights when the lamb shipment is late, they notice. He cuts the meat himself, in the back of the small rented room he uses for storage and preparation, in the late afternoon before the stall opens. The cuts are not uniform, that is intentional. Different sizes cook at different rates, which means at any given moment he has something ready to sell. A customer who arrives and finds nothing finished will not wait. A customer who arrives and finds something hot and ready will buy it before they finish deciding whether they were hungry. He has learned this the way he has learned everything about this work, by watching, by losing money, by adjusting. The first lanterns go up along the bridge, as the sky moves from orange to purple. This is the signal, not an official one, not a bell or a drum, but the collective agreement of 1,000 vendors making the same calculation at the same moment. The light is going, put up your lanterns. The night market is starting. Paper lanterns, oil lanterns, lanterns made from hollowed gourds with candles inside. They go up in sequence along the main street, then the side streets, then the bridge itself, until the whole approach to Zhouqiao is strung with moving light that reflects off the river below and makes the water look like it's burning. Chen Wu's lantern is not decorative, it is a signal fire. It hangs from a bamboo pole at the front of his stall, positioned so it illuminates the meat on the grate rather than his own face. He is selling the food, not himself, and the light should serve accordingly. He lights it, steps back, looks at the whole setup. 10 years, and he still does this every night. Steps back, checks the sight lines, makes sure everything is where it should be. The meat is on the grate. The sauce is ready in the clay pot at the side, kept warm by a smaller brazier underneath. The cutting board is clean. The serving papers, thick squares of oiled paper he uses to hand food to customers, are stacked and dry. He is ready. The bridge is not yet crowded, but it will be. The first customers are never the hungry ones. They are the curious ones, people who happen to be passing, whose attention catches on the smell before their intention does. A man walking home from his workshop, who didn't plan to stop but finds himself slowing 20 meters out, drawn by something his nose identified before his mind caught up. A woman with a basket over her arm, who has already done her evening shopping but pauses at the edge of Chen Wu's light, reading the menu posted on the board behind the grate. Chen Wu knows these customers. He doesn't rush them. He lets the smell do the work. The smell tonight is extraordinary. It is layered in a way that only outdoor cooking over live fire can produce. Not a single note, but a chord. The base is the fat, rendering slowly, filling the air with a richness that is halfway between savoury and sweet. Above that, the spices he rubs into the lamb before it goes on. Sichuan pepper and dried ginger and something darker. a spice that comes from the western trade routes and that Wang Po at the pharmacy down the street sells in small quantities at a price that makes Chen Wu wince slightly every time he buys it. Above that, the char, the specific, irreplaceable smell of meat meeting heat, edges crisping, surface browning. And underneath all of it, the river, the Bianjing at night, carrying its cargo of water and history, and the faint mineral smell of somewhere far upstream. This is what Zhouqiao smells like at the beginning of the night market. This is why people come. By the second hour, the bridge is full. Not uncomfortably full. Zhouqiao is wide, built to accommodate exactly this kind of commercial density, but full in the way that means you're never more than an arm's length from another person, that conversations overlap and blend, that the collective warmth of several hundred bodies raises the temperature of the air around the bridge by a degree or two above the surrounding streets. Chen Wu is not thinking about any of this. He's working. His hands move in a rhythm that is almost musical, turning the meat on the grate, sliding finished pieces to the cooler edge, cutting serving portions with a cleaver that has been sharpened so many times the blade is visibly narrower than it was when he bought it. He takes orders, makes change, wraps portions in oiled paper, hands them across the counter, reaches for the next thing, all in a sequence so practiced it has become unconscious. He talks while he works. This is important. The vendor who works in silence is invisible. The vendor who talks becomes a presence, a personality, a reason to return. He knows his regulars by name, or by the nicknames he's assigned them in his own mind. The government clerk, who always orders double portions and never admits it. The pair of young students who share a single serving and pretend they aren't hungry. He knows what they order before they open their mouths. He starts preparing before they reach the counter. This is not friendliness exactly. It is craft. Somewhere in the crowd, a young man stops. He's been walking without particular purpose. The kind of walking that happens when you have nowhere specific to be, and the night is mild and the city is doing interesting things around you. He came from the direction of the examination halls, which he has not visited in 2 weeks, and will probably not visit again, though he hasn't admitted this to himself yet. His name is Wei Ming. He is 26 years old, from a town 3 days' travel to the south, and he has been in Bianjing for 4 months. He came to pass an examination. He did not pass it. He stops at the edge of Chen Wu's light and looks at the grate. He counts the coins in his sleeve pocket without removing them, by feel, the way you do when you already know the answer, but need the ritual of checking to make it real. He orders the smallest portion. He takes it and walks on, into the crowd, into the noise, into the part of the night that still has hours left in it. We will find him again later. For now, the bridge is calling. The night market at Zhouqiao does not peak, and then decline. It layers. The first wave, the curious, the passing, the people who stopped without planning to, gives way to the second wave. People who came specifically, who planned this, who have been thinking about it since afternoon. Then the third wave later, the people for whom the night market is not a destination but a passage, something they move through on their way to somewhere else. A gaming house, a wine shop, a friend's door. Chen Wu serves all of them. His brazier will not go cold until third watch, when the city's drum signals the deep hours, and even Bianjing begins, slowly, reluctantly, to quiet. But that is hours away yet. Right now, the bridge is burning with light, and the river is full of reflections, And somewhere in the crowd, someone is laughing at something, and the smell of roasting meat is carrying all the way to the second turning of the street. Right now, the night is just beginning. The bridge is behind you now. You've eaten, or watched others eat. You've stood long enough at Chen Wu's fire that the smell of roasting meat has settled into the fabric of your clothes, the way smoke does, not unpleasantly. You carry it with you as you walk. The crowd thins slightly as you move away from Zhouqiao, then thickens again at the first intersection, then thins, then thickens. Bianjing breathes like this. It has rhythms you can feel through the soles of your feet, the pulse of people moving between fixed points of light, the way water finds channels. And there is a great deal of light tonight. This is the thing visitors always mention first. Not the food, not the noise, not the scale of the city, though they mentioned all of those things too, in letters home, in travel accounts, in poems written years later when the memory had softened into something almost unbelievable. They mentioned the light, they mentioned it the way people mentioned something they did not expect to be moved by and were. Bianjing at night was not dark. This seems like a small thing to say. It's not a small thing. In the year 1100, darkness was the default condition of human life after sunset. Darkness was what night meant. In the cities of Europe, in the towns of the Islamic world, in the villages and capitals of every civilization then living on this earth, when the sun went down, you went inside, you lit what candles or oil lamps you could afford, and you waited for morning. The street outside your door was black. It was dangerous. It belonged to a different category of time. Not daytime, not your time. Bianjing had decided, collectively and gradually, and without any single decree, that this did not have to be true. The instrument of that decision was the lamp tower. 5 of them anchored the city's night. 5 structures, not lampposts, not strings of lanterns hung between buildings, but towers purpose-built, designed to be seen from a distance, designed to organise the darkness around them the way a lighthouse organises the sea. They stood at the intersections of the city's major arteries. They stood at the gates of the great Huazi, the walled entertainment quarters that were Bianjing's other invention, its other gift to the future. They stood tall enough that on a clear night you could see 2 or 3 of them at once, triangulating your position in the city by their light, the way sailors triangulated by stars. Each tower was strung with hundreds of lanterns, paper lanterns, silk lanterns, lanterns made from oiled cloth, stretched over frames of split bamboo, lanterns in the shapes of fish and cranes and flowering plums. In the weeks around the Lantern Festival, they were joined by thousands more, hung from every eave, every gate, every merchant's pole, until the city's light was visible, according to one account, from 20 li away. 20 li, roughly 10 kilometres. A city glowing on the plain like a coal that refuses to go out. But even on an ordinary night, on a night like tonight, a night with no festival and no occasion, just a city going about its business, the towers burned. They burned because the city expected them to, because the food stalls needed customers who could find them, because the Huazi needed audiences who could read the gates, because 10,000 small commercial decisions had over the course of 50 years added up to a single enormous civic fact. Bianjing had made the night safe enough to sell things in. And once you make the night safe enough to sell things in, you have changed something fundamental about what cities are for. Wang Po noticed the towers the way she noticed most things in her life. Practically, with the specific attention of someone who could not afford not to pay attention. She had closed the front shutters of her shop on Mawang Street an hour after the lamps went up. This was her routine. Not because business stopped at sundown, it didn't entirely, but because the serious business of the evening was accounting, and accounting required a particular quality of stillness that the open street did not provide. Her shop was called simply Fragrant Medicine Shop, Xiang Yao Pu. The name was almost comically inadequate for what the shelves contained. Cinnamon from the forests of what is now Vietnam, arriving in Bianjing via the southern ports after a journey of weeks by riverboat and ox cart. Cloves from islands so far south and east that most people in the city could not have pointed to them on a map, could not have imagined the map that would contain them. Saffron, the dried stigmas of a flower that grew in the mountains of Persia and Kashmir, worth more by weight than almost anything else on her shelves. Camphor, cardamom, the dried and powdered bark of trees, whose names she knew in 3 languages: the language of the merchants who grew them, the language of the merchants who sold them, and the language of the physicians who prescribed them. She had been here 20 years. She had learned the names. Her husband had opened the shop. He had been good with customers, warm, expansive, a natural talker, and less good with numbers. When he died, 11 years ago now, she had discovered that the books were in a state that required either panic or very careful attention, and she had chosen attention. It had taken her 3 years to understand the full shape of the business. It had taken her another 2 to make it profitable in its own right, not merely surviving on momentum and goodwill. She was not sentimental about this. It was work. She had done it. Now she sat at the low table behind the partition that separated the shop floor from the back room, her account book open, her brush moving in small, precise columns. Income, expenditure. What was owed to the spice broker on East Chicken Market Street? What the Physicians Guild Hall had ordered for next month and not yet collected? What the price of cloves had done over the past 3 months? Up, then down, then up again, following a rhythm she had traced back, through correspondence with a contact in Hangzhou, to a disruption in the southern shipping routes. She was 51 years old. She had no children. She had instead a business that was hers, a reputation that was hers, and a knowledge of the spice trade between Bianjing and the southern ports that very few people in the city could match. After an hour, she closed the book, washed her brush, and went outside. She did this every night, not for business, the shutters stayed closed, but because the night air carried things worth knowing. The smell of the wind off the Bianni told her something about the weather coming from the north. The sound of the crowd 2 streets over told her how busy the Wazi was tonight, which told her something about the general mood of the city, which told her something about whether next week's customers would spend cautiously or freely. She had built an entire informal system of inference out of standing in her own doorway for 10 minutes before bed. Tonight she stood longer than usual. The tower at the corner of the Wazi gate was burning very brightly. Someone had added fresh oil. She could see the difference in the colour of the flame, the slight blue at the base that meant good quality fuel. The lanterns below it swayed in a small wind off the canal. The sound from inside the Wazi walls was the particular layered sound of a full house. Not individual voices, but the composite roar of a crowd that has reached a point where it forgets it is a crowd and begins to feel like a single warm thing. She listened to it for a while. She had been inside the Wazi perhaps a dozen times in 20 years. She was not by temperament a person who sought that kind of noise. But she understood what it was. She had customers who came to her the morning after a particularly good performance with a loose, generous energy that expressed itself in buying 2 tails of cinnamon when they only needed 1. She understood the economics of pleasure. Above the Wazi gate, the tower burned. She went back inside. The towers did something else beyond illumination. They created a map. In a city of 500,000 people, in a city that had grown so fast that its streets were not entirely logical, that its neighbourhoods had names which meant something to the people who lived there and nothing to anyone else, the towers gave you coordinates. They told you where the centre was. They told you which direction you were moving in relation to the things that mattered. The markets, the entertainment quarters, the great temple gates, the canal. A traveller arriving in Bianjing for the first time, stepping off a boat at the Bianhe docks in the early evening, could orient herself by the towers before she had spoken to a single person. She could see, from the dock, at least 2 points of light high enough to be towers, and she could begin to understand the geometry of the city from those 2 points alone. This was not an accident. The towers had been placed with care by people who understood that a city of this size needed, among other things, a system for being readable. Bianjing in 1100 was doing something that no city on earth had yet quite figured out. It was trying to be legible to strangers, because strangers were good for business, because a city that strangers could navigate was a city that strangers would return to, because the night market depended, structurally, on the participation of people who are not from here, merchants passing through, scholars waiting for examination results, pilgrims, traders, the simply curious. And those people needed to be able to find the food stalls, find the Wazi, find their way back to whatever inn they were sleeping in, without getting lost in the dark and deciding that next time they would stay home. The towers were, in this sense, infrastructure, civic investment in commercial possibility. The Song government had built them the same way. It had deepened the canal and maintained the bridges, not out of generosity, but out of the correct understanding that a functioning city was more valuable than a non-functioning one. Back at the bridge, if you look now, if you turned and looked back the way you had come, you could see Chen Wu's fire. Not Chen Wu himself. He was too far away, too small, too absorbed in the particular focused labour of a man who has 20 portions of roasting meat at various stages of doneness, and cannot afford to lose track of any of them. But the fire, the light of it, orange and steady, one fixed point among many along the curve of Zhouqiao. He would be there until the 3rd watch. He was always there until the 3rd watch. You turn back. The Wazi gate is ahead. The tower above it burns blue-white at the base and gold at the top. And the sound coming from inside the walls is the sound of several thousand people who have, at least for tonight, decided that the world is a place worth being awake in. The gate is open. You walk toward it. The gate is lower than you expected. You've been looking at the tower above it for the past 10 minutes, tracking it as you walked, using it as a beacon the way the city intended you to. And so, when you finally arrive at the Wazi gate itself, you are still oriented upward. still thinking in terms of height and light. The gate brings you back down. It's a practical thing, wide enough for a cart, framed in plain timber, worn smooth at the edges by the passage of hands and shoulders over years. There is no ceremony to entering, you simply walk through, and then you are inside. The first thing is the sound, not louder exactly. You could hear the wah-zi from 2 streets away. You have been hearing it for the past quarter hour, but different in quality. Outside, the sound was something that reached you. Inside, the sound is something that surrounds you, that has texture and layers and specific sources you can now begin to separate from each other. From the left, music. A stringed instrument you can't immediately name, playing something fast and slightly melancholy, and under it, a drum keeping a beat that your body picks up before your mind does. From somewhere ahead and above, laughter. The explosive, involuntary kind. Not the polite acknowledgement of something mildly amusing, but the laughter of a crowd that has been caught off guard, that did not see the joke coming until it arrived. From the right, a voice. A single voice, male, doing something complicated, rising and falling, speeding up and stopping dead, stretching certain syllables until they become something between speech and song. You turn toward it without deciding to. This is the wazi. The word means, roughly, roof tiles. Curved roof tiles. The kind that, when they slide off a roof and land in the street, arrange themselves into irregular clusters. Some overlapping, some touching at odd angles, some isolated. The wazi got its name from this image. A place where people gathered the way fallen tiles do, without obvious organisation, in whatever configuration the moment produced. There were several wazi in Bianjing. The largest could hold, by some accounts, thousands of people at once, not in a single space, but distributed across the many gulan that subdivided the interior. Gulan, performance enclosures. Fenced or walled spaces of varying sizes, each devoted to a particular kind of entertainment, each with its own stage and its own regular performers and its own regular audience. You could spend an entire evening in the wazi without leaving. Some people did. There were food vendors inside the walls, cheaper than Chen Wu's operation at Zhouqiao, less careful with their ingredients, but available, and tea sellers, and people renting cushions for an extra coin if you wanted to sit rather than stand. The wazi had evolved, over the decades, into something close to self-sufficient. A city within the city, a night within the night. The gate behind you was still visible if you turned around. You don't turn around. Wei Ming had been coming here for 4 months. He had arrived in Bianjing the previous spring with 3 things: a leather satchel containing his books and his examination papers, a letter of introduction to a distant relation who turned out to have moved away 2 years prior, and the particular sustained hopefulness of a man who has studied for something his entire adult life, and has not yet fully confronted the possibility that studying for it may not be enough. He had sat the imperial examination in the 4th month. He had not passed. This was not unusual. The examination passed perhaps 1 in 100 candidates in a given year, sometimes fewer. The men who sat it were, by definition, the most educated men in the empire, the ones who had already survived every regional filter, every preliminary test, every round of elimination that stood between a boy in a provincial village and a desk in the examination hall in the capital. To fail among this company was not the same as failing among ordinary people. Wei Ming understood this. He understood it, and it did not help. He had written home once, a careful letter that said he was staying in Bianjing to pursue copyist work while he prepared for the next examination cycle. This was true. He had found work copying legal documents and occasionally classical texts for a bookseller near the Imperial Way. The work paid enough to cover his room and one meal a day. He was not destitute. He was not by the standards of Bianjing's thousands of examination candidates who had failed and stayed doing badly. He was doing what they all did, waiting, working, trying not to think too precisely about the shape of his future. The Wazi had come to him accidentally. He had followed a crowd one evening in his second month in the city, more to have somewhere to walk than from any particular curiosity, and had ended up inside the walls without quite meaning to, and had heard a storyteller in mid-performance, and had stopped. He had stayed for 3 hours. He had come back the next night. The storyteller's name was Liu Sansheng, Liu 3 Voices, a performing name that was, if anything, an understatement. He was a small man, perhaps 60, with a face that in repose looked entirely ordinary and in performance became something else. Mobile, exaggerated, capable of cycling through 5 expressions in the space of 3 sentences without ever losing legibility. You always knew, watching Liu Sansheng's face, exactly what the character he was voicing was feeling. This was not an accident. He had been doing this for 40 years. His gulan was not the largest in the Wazi. It held perhaps 200 people standing, 150 if they wanted any room to breathe. Tonight it was full. It was always full when Liu Sansheng was performing. Wei Ming stood near the back, his usual position. He had learned over 4 months that the back was better. Not for the sound, which carried well regardless, but for the view. From the back you could see not just the storyteller, but the crowd. You could see the moment a joke landed, the ripple of it moving through 200 bodies before the sound of laughter reached you. You could see the woman near the front, who'd been crying quietly for the past 10 minutes, while everyone around her stared forward, rapt, apparently unaware. You could see the small boy who had climbed onto his father's shoulders and was now asleep there, his cheek pressed against his father's head, unconscious of everything. He had not expected to love this. He had expected to find it crude. Liu Sansheng was telling the story of the Red Cliff. Wei Ming knew this story the way he knew his own name, had known it since childhood, had read the primary sources, had read the commentaries on the primary sources, had written examination essays analysing the strategic decisions of Zhuge Liang and the character failures of Cao Cao with the careful detachment that the examination format required. He knew the Red Cliff battle the way a physician knows a body, from the inside, technically, with attention to structure. Liu Sansheng did not tell it that way. Liu Sansheng told it the way weather happens. He told it with his whole body, stepping forward for Cao Cao's arrogance, stepping back for the river's stillness before the fire, dropping to almost a whisper for the moment when the fire ships began to move. He gave Cao Cao a particular kind of laugh, slightly too loud, the laugh of a man who has stopped listening to the people around him. He gave Zhuge Liang a stillness, a pause before each significant line, that made the crowd lean forward without meaning to. Wei Ming watched the crowd lean. He felt, as he always felt at this moment, a complicated mixture of things he had never quite managed to separate from each other. There was something that functioned like irritation. The examination candidate in him noting every liberty Liu Sansheng took with the historical record, every detail compressed or invented or shifted for dramatic effect. Cao Cao's laugh was not documented anywhere. The pause before Zhuge Liang's lines was a theatrical convention, not a historical fact. But underneath the irritation, or alongside it, or woven through it so thoroughly that separating them was probably not possible, something else. Something that felt like recognition. The crowd around him was full of people who had not read the primary sources, who could not have named Cao Cao as principal generals, who had no opinion on the historiographical debates about the battle's actual scale. They had come here to hear a story, and Liu Sansheng was giving them something that the primary sources, for all their precision, did not give. The feeling of it. The sense of what it had been like to stand on the riverbank and watch the fireships come. Wei Ming had written 3 examination essays about the Red Cliff. He was not sure, standing here in the back of Liu Sansheng's Gu Lan at the second watch of a night in late autumn, that any of them had contained what this small man with the mobile face was currently giving to 200 people who couldn't care less about historiographical debates. This thought was uncomfortable. He had it anyway. The story reached its climax. The fireships released, the wind turning at the perfect moment, Cao Cao's fleet burning on the water, and Liu Sansheng did something Wei Ming had seen him do before, but which still worked every time. He went completely silent. Not a pause, not a breath. A full silence, 5 seconds, 6, 7. Long enough for the crowd to start to shift, to wonder, to feel the absence of his voice as a physical thing. Then, very quietly, almost to himself, Liu Sansheng said the line that ended the battle. Wei Ming didn't catch all of it. He was too far back, and the silence had made people nervous, and 2 people near him had started whispering. But he caught enough. He caught the last 4 characters, which were the 4 characters any educated person would have recognised as the line in question, and he felt, absurdly, the back of his throat tighten. The crowd erupted. Not because they recognised the literary allusion. Most of them didn't. Because Liu Sansheng's voice, in that moment, had carried something true in it. The truth of a fire that had actually burned on a river that actually existed 1,000 years ago. The truth of a battle that had actually happened and had actually mattered and had actually shaped the world that everyone in this Golan had been born into. History, Wei Ming thought. That's what he's doing. He's giving them history. And then, less comfortably, the way it should feel, he stayed for 2 more performances, a comic piece involving a merchant and a series of increasingly improbable misunderstandings, which he found himself laughing at despite his best intentions, and a short musical performance by a woman who played the pipa with the specific quality of attention that makes a crowded room go quiet. When he finally left the Gulan, it was past the second watch. The Wazi was still full, if anything, slightly fuller, the later crowd arriving as the early crowd began to drift home. He moved through it slowly, in no particular hurry, the noise and light washing over him without demanding anything. At the gate he paused. The tower above him was still burning. Somewhere in the city, in the direction of the canal, Chen Wu's fire was still burning too, a smaller and more purposeful light. The street outside the Wazi was full of people moving in both directions, their faces lit from above in the amber light of lanterns strung between buildings. Wei Ming stood in the gate for a moment, neither inside nor outside. He was thinking about Liu Sansheng's silence before the last line. The way the crowd had felt it, the way he had felt it, despite knowing the story, despite having written 3 essays about it, despite everything. He was thinking that there might be more than one way to know something. Then he stepped through the gate, and the night received him, and he walked on. Wei Ming walks out of the Wazi gate into the night, and the city swallows him whole. Not darkness, light. The lamps along Mawang Street are still burning, all of them, the oil not even halfway down. Stalls that were open when he arrived 3 hours ago are still open now. New ones have joined them. Carts that were not there at dusk. Vendors who work only these hours. Who set up while most cities in the world are already silent and dreaming. He stops for a moment just outside the gate, adjusting from the close warmth of the Wazi to the wider noise of the street. And somewhere in the crowd ahead of him, a woman is arguing prices. Her voice is calm, not angry, calm. The practiced calm of someone who knows exactly what something is worth and is prepared to wait as long as necessary for the other person to agree. That is Wang Po. She has been on this street for 20 years. Not always at this hour. When her husband was alive, she kept more regular rhythms, opening at dawn, closing by the second watch, running the shop the way shops were run in the generation before theirs. Her husband had been a careful man, methodical, good with ledgers. He had built the fragrant medicine shop on Mawang Street into a respectable business. Not large, not famous, but steady. The kind of shop that regular customers returned to because they knew the quality would not vary. He had died 11 years ago, in a summer that Wang Po still does not think about directly. Fever, 3 days, then nothing, and she had kept the shop. Not out of sentiment, though there was sentiment. Not because she had no other choice, though in the early years that was partly true. She had kept it because by the time he died, she understood the business better than he had. She simply had not said so, because that was not something that needed saying. The ledgers had always passed through her hands. The supply of relationships had always relied on her memory. The knowledge of what to stock, when, in what quantities, based on which season and which customers were due, that had been hers, quietly, for years. What changed after his death was only that her name was on the shop sign. The man she is arguing with tonight is not a stranger. His name is Fang, and he comes from the south, from the network of traders who move goods up the Bian River from the Huai Valley and beyond. Camphor from Fujian, cloves and nutmeg from the southern ports where the foreign ships dock, cardamom and long pepper from routes that reach back through Sichuan into territories that song maps mark only vaguely and merchants know better than cartographers. Fang has been her supplier for 6 years. He is a reasonable man, but he is currently telling her that the price of sandalwood has increased by 12% since his last visit, and Wang Po is explaining with great patience that this is not possible. The Fujian harvest was strong this year, she says. I have 3 letters telling me this. The harvest was strong. The transport costs are what changed. Transport on the Bian River does not cost 12% more than it did in the 3rd month. Fang makes a gesture that is not quite a shrug. The guild has renegotiated its rates. Then the guild has renegotiated by approximately 5%, based on what I paid Third Master Zhao last month for a comparable shipment from the same route. I am willing to pay 7% more than spring prices. That accounts for the guild adjustment and your time. It does not account for the remainder, because the remainder did not happen. There is a pause. Around them, Mawang Street continues at full intensity. The lamps burning, the calls of vendors, the sound of a cart being wheeled over uneven stones somewhere to the east. A group of men pass behind Feng, their voices loud with the ease of people who have been drinking for several hours. One of them stops to examine something at a stall selling preserved fruits. The others wait, calling to him lazily. Fang looks at Wang Po. 8%, he says. 7, she says. And I will take the full sandalwood allotment rather than splitting the order with the Donghua street shop. Another pause, shorter this time. 7%, Fang says, and the full allotment. Wang Po nods, as if this were always obvious. Come inside. I'll have the account settled before the third watch. The inside of the fragrant medicine shop at this hour is lit by 4 lamps, which is enough. The shop is not large. 2 rooms, the front for customers and transactions, the back for storage, and the careful work of weighing and sorting. The walls of the front room are lined with wooden drawers, each one labelled in Wang Po's own hand, and the smell of the place is impossible to describe simply because it is not one smell. It is 40, layered over 20 years of trade, the old scents absorbed into the wood of the shelves and the plaster of the walls. Sandalwood, white pepper, dried tangerine peel, the faint sweetness of cardamom. Underneath everything, something darker, a bass note that no one coming in for the first time can identify, which is the accumulated presence of years of camphor, aloes wood, cloves, and a dozen other things that have passed through these rooms in quantity. Customers sometimes stand in the doorway for a moment before entering, just to breathe. Wang Po has long since stopped noticing it. She notices only when something is off. When a supplier has adulterated a batch, or when the storage in the back room needs adjustment, or when something new arrives that she does not yet have a reference point for. She settles the account with Fang in the small ledger she keeps behind the counter. The numbers are precise, they always are. Fang, who has dealt with enough merchants to know the difference between someone performing precision and someone who actually has it, does not check her figures. He leaves with the ledger entry made and a verbal agreement about the next shipment, due in 6 weeks. Wang Po watches him go, then looks at the clock. Third watch approaching. The streets are still active, but the quality of the crowd is changing. The families with children have gone home. The office holders who had early obligations have gone home. The scholars who need to be presentable in the morning have mostly gone home. What remains at this hour is a different kind of alive. She steps to the doorway, Mawang Street, at the approach of the third watch. This is one of the things about the city that Wang Po has watched change over the 20 years she has been here. When she first came, the streets did not look like this at this hour. The change has been gradual. A stall staying open later, then another, then a whole cluster of vendors adjusting their hours in response to the fact that customers were still out, and the customers staying later in response to the fact that there was still something to come out for. The city has taught itself this. No one decided it. It simply emerged the way all complex things emerge, from thousands of small decisions adding up to something that no single person designed. What she sees from her doorway, lamps, not as many as an hour ago. Some of the food stalls are winding down, the vendors who have sold their stock and see no point in waiting, but enough. The great lamp towers are still burning, and by their light she can see the street stretching east toward the canal, the shapes of people moving. the orange smear of a brazier somewhere at the far end of the block, where a vendor is still working over heat. Directly across from her, a fabric seller packing up for the night, folding lengths of cloth with the practiced speed of someone who has done it 10,000 times. Next to him, a stall selling hot wine that is very much still open, doing steady business with the men who are using the night as an extension of something that started at dinner. Next to that, a bookshop. And this is one of the things Wang Po still finds remarkable. Even after 20 years, a bookshop, open at this hour, the owner reading at his counter in the lamplight, as if this were an ordinary time of day to sell books, which in this city it is. She knows the bookshop owner. He is a small, nearsighted man from Jiangnan who came to the capital 15 years ago and never left. He buys clove oil from her in small quantities, which he says helps the headaches that come from reading in insufficient light. She has not told him that more light would help more than the clove oil, because the clove oil is revenue, and also because she suspects he already knows. The supply chain that passes through Wang Po's shop is not visible to the people who buy from it. A woman comes in for cinnamon for a medical prescription from the physician on the next street. She sees a small paper packet, a price, a transaction. She does not see what Wang Po sees. The cinnamon coming north on the river from the Guang'an circuit, where it grows in the hill country away from the coast, harvested by people Wang Po has never met and will never meet. Passed to a consolidator in Guangzhou, who deals with a dozen traders like Feng, who move it up the coast and then inland along the waterway networks that connect the southern ports to the Bian River, which connects to the capital, which connects to Wang Po's wooden drawers. This is what it means to be a merchant in this city, at this moment in history, to be a node in a system so large that no single person can see all of it, but which nonetheless functions, which nonetheless moves things from the place where they grow to the place where they are needed, across 1,000 miles and a dozen transactions, with enough precision that Wang Po can predict, within a reasonable margin, what her stock will look like in 6 weeks and what it will cost. The empire has, in the last century, built infrastructure for this. Roads, canals. The Bian River is not an accident. It has been maintained, and in places redirected to serve exactly this function, to be the artery through which commerce flows into the heart of the capital. Wang Po does not think about this in terms of state policy. She thinks about it in terms of delivery times and seasonal variation and which routes are reliable in the 4th month versus the 7th. But the result is the same. The shop on Mawang Street is connected, through invisible threads, to Fujian and Sichuan and Guangzhou, and the foreign ports where ships arrive from places that Song merchants call the Southern Seas. Every drawer in her shop is a geography lesson that she has never bothered to frame that way. There is something that happens at this hour that does not happen earlier. Wei Ming would call it mood if he were here to observe it. Chen Wu, down at the bridge, would call it the dying down of the first fire. The realization that the night is long and the cooking must be steady, not urgent. Wang Po does not have a name for it. She simply recognizes it when it comes. The street slows incrementally, not stops, slows. The voices get slightly less overlapping. The gap between one customer and the next gets slightly wider. The fabric seller across the street has finished folding and is loading his cart, and the space where his stall was is already beginning to look like an absence. This is the peak passing. It does not feel like diminishment, not exactly. It feels more like the city taking a breath. The night market at its fullest intensity is a remarkable thing. All those lamps, all that commerce, all those people choosing to be in public at an hour when, in almost every other city on earth, there is nothing to be in public for. But it cannot stay at that intensity forever. Even this city sleeps eventually. Even these lamps burn down. What remains in the thinning hours after the peak is something Wang Po has come to find more interesting than the peak itself. The people who are still here because they want to be here, not because the crowd carried them. The men with nowhere particular to be, nursing their wine at the stall across the street. The bookshop owner reading at his counter, in no apparent hurry to close. The vendors who are packing up slowly, in no hurry, having done this enough times to know that the last customers sometimes appear exactly when you think there will be no more. And Wang Po herself, standing in her doorway, watching it. She has thought sometimes about what this city is. Not in philosophical terms. Wang Po is not Wei Ming. She does not spend her evenings turning questions over for the pleasure of turning them. She thinks in practical terms, in the language of ledgers and supply chains, and the question of what will be needed and when. But 20 years on Ma Wang Street will teach you things that you did not go looking for. And one of the things it has taught her is this. The city does not run on its monuments. The great lamp towers are beautiful. The Zhouqiao Bridge is beautiful. The palace at the northern end of the Imperial Way, which she has never entered and does not need to enter, is no doubt beautiful in the way that things built to demonstrate power are always beautiful. Remote, deliberate, meant to be seen from a distance and to mean something about the people who built it. But the city that Wang Po knows is not that city. It is Fang, arriving after the second watch with a revised price on sandalwood. It is the consolidator in Guangzhou who has never met Wang Po and never will, but whose decisions about which traders to work with determine what appears in her drawers 6 weeks later. It is the woman who comes in for cinnamon and has no idea that the cinnamon travelled 500 miles to reach her, that it passed through 6 pairs of hands, that its price reflects not only the harvest, but the guild rates on the Bian River and the negotiating position of a widow on Mawang Street who knew that 7% was the right number before the conversation started. It is all of this running simultaneously at all hours. What Wang Po understands from the inside of it is that the night market is not separate from the commerce of the day. It is not an exception or a festival or a special occasion. It is simply the day extended, the same logic of supply and demand and human need operating in the same streets under different light. The lamps have allowed something that was always latent to become actual. The city was always capable of this. It simply needed someone to leave the lights on long enough for people to discover that they wanted to stay. She wonders sometimes if people in other cities know that this is possible, that a city can be like this, open, lit, active, the street a place you go not because you must, but because there is something there worth going to, at any hour. She has no way of knowing what other cities are like. She has only been to 3, and the other 2 were smaller and quieter and closed at dusk like a door being shut firmly against the night. She does not miss them. She has a delivery to sort before morning. She has the fresh ledger entries to transfer to the main accounts. She has, if she is being honest, approximately 1 hour of remaining work before the third watch arrives, and she can permit herself to stop. She stays in the doorway for another moment. Down the street, the hot wine stall is still busy. The bookshop owner has not moved from his counter. Someone, she cannot see who, only the shape of a person against the lamplight, is standing at the far end of the block, looking at something in their hands, turning it over, considering. A customer who found something unexpected, or a vendor who picked up something at another stall and is reading it in the available light. In the morning, the street will look entirely different. The stalls will be gone or replaced by different ones. The carts will have moved. The lamps will have been refilled or replaced. The oil that burned through the night accounted for in someone's ledger somewhere. A small cost in a long column of small costs that add up to the fact that this street was lit, that people could see, that commerce could happen, that the city did not have to end at sundown. Wang Po thinks about the morning the way she always thinks about it at this hour, as something that will come when it comes, and that will bring its own requirements, and that she will meet when it arrives. For now, the street thinning, the lamps still burning, the accumulated warmth of 20 years of transactions in the room behind her, in the wooden drawers with their careful labels, in the ledger behind the counter with Fang's 7% written in her hand. The lamp at the far end of the block is still burning, orange warm against the sky that is beginning, not yet, but beginning, to carry the first impossible suggestion of a different kind of dark. Not deeper dark, quieter dark. She will notice when it arrives. For now, she goes back inside. There is work still to do, and the night is not finished yet. To understand what you have been walking through tonight, you need to know what was here before. Not the buildings. The buildings are still standing. The same stones, the same timber, the same canals running in the same directions they have run for generations. What was here before is harder to see than buildings, because it was made not of stone, but of rules. And rules, when they fall, leave no rubble. They leave only the absence of the thing that once constrained you. Go back 300 years. The city of Bianjing, or any great Tang Dynasty city, Chang'an, Luoyang, the imperial capitals that preceded this one, was divided. Not by walls you could touch, though those existed too, but by a logic of division that governed every hour of every day for the people who lived inside it. The city was a grid. Not a grid in the loose sense that we mean when we say a city is organised. A true grid, mathematical, enforced. The residential and commercial areas of Tangchang'an were divided into enclosed wards called fang. Each fang was a walled rectangle. Each had a gate. Each gate was locked at curfew, which came with the drumbeat at dusk, and did not open again until the drumbeat at dawn. Inside the fang, you were home. Outside the fang, at night, you were in violation. The markets, the places where commerce happened, were similarly enclosed, separately walled, separately gated. There were two of them in Tangchang'an, the East Market and the West Market, and they operated on strict hours. Open at midday, closed in the afternoon, locked at night like everything else. If you needed something after the market closed, you waited until tomorrow. If you were outside your fang after curfew without official authorization, you were subject to punishment. The night was not a time for public life. The night was a time to be accounted for, contained, located within your assigned walls. This was not unique to China. Across the medieval world, the night was governed by fear. Fear of fire, fear of crime, fear of the social disorder that was believed to emerge when people moved freely in darkness. The curfew was a technology of control, and it was nearly universal. But something happened in China that did not happen anywhere else at the same moment in history. The walls came down. It did not happen at once. It rarely does. The Tang dynasty collapsed in 907, and what followed was a period of fracture. The 5 dynasties, 50 years of shifting power and contested legitimacy. The kind of era that historians summarise quickly, because the details are painful and the outcomes are uncertain. Cities during this period lost some of their administrative coherence. The strict enforcement of the Fang system required a stable government apparatus. Inspectors, gatekeepers, patrols, the whole infrastructure of regulated urban life. When the dynasty fractured, some of that infrastructure weakened. People began, quietly, to do what people always do when the enforcement of a rule becomes inconsistent. They began to test it. A vendor staying open a little past the official closing hour. A stall appearing outside the Fang walls in a space that was technically not designated for commerce. A gate left unlocked by a guard who had other concerns, or who had been persuaded that the concerns in question were not worth his attention tonight. None of these people thought of themselves as making history. They were making money, or they were hungry, or they were bored, or they simply saw an opportunity and took it. The accumulation of these small decisions, over decades, began to erode the physical and regulatory infrastructure of the Fang system from the inside. When the Song dynasty emerged in 960 and began the slow work of reunification, it inherited cities that had already changed. The early Song government made a choice, not, as far as we can tell, a dramatically announced policy choice, but a gradual practical accommodation to allow what was already happening. The Fang walls were not ceremonially demolished. They simply were not maintained. They fell into disrepair. The gates were not locked. The curfew drums became, over time, a formality that fewer and fewer people organised their evenings around. By the mid-11th century, a generation or two before the night we are walking through, the Fang system in Bianjing was effectively gone. The grid had dissolved into something more like the city we have been walking through tonight. Open streets, commerce spreading along every frontage, no walls between you and the next block except the ones that were structurally necessary. The city had unmade one of its fundamental organising principles, and in the space where the walls had been, a night market had grown. Wei Ming knows some of this. He knows it the way a person who has read widely and thought carefully knows things. In outline, with gaps, the kind of knowledge that is confident about the large shape and uncertain about the details. He studied for the imperial examination for 6 years, which means he read a great deal of history, because history is one of the things the examination tests. He knows the Tang dynasty. He knows the 5 dynasties. He can recite the names of the emperors in order and give a rough account of the major administrative reforms of each reign. What he did not understand before he came to this city was what any of it looked like from the ground. He sits now at the edge of a low stone step near the east end of Mawang Street, not far from where Wang Po's light is still burning in the fragrant medicine window. He has been walking for hours, from Zhouqiao to the lamp towers, to the Huazi and out again, and now here in the thinning end of the night, not yet ready to go back to the room he rents from a family near the southern gate. He has a habit, when he cannot sleep and cannot read, of trying to think clearly about one thing at a time. It is a discipline he developed during the examination years, when the material was so vast that the only way to hold it was to take one part of it and turn it over completely before moving to the next. Tonight, the thing he is turning over is the street in front of him. He has read about the Fang system. He knows it existed. He knows the Tang capital was organised according to its logic, that it was, in some ways, the defining feature of urban administration for centuries. And he is sitting on a step in a city that has dissolved that system so completely that most of the people walking past him right now have never heard the word Fang in an urban planning context, have no idea that the freedom they are exercising, the freedom to be on this street at this hour buying and selling and simply existing in public, is a freedom that was not always available. That someone, or rather many someones, at some point in the not very distant past, had to push against a gate to find out whether it would hold. It did not hold. Wei Ming thinks this is what history looks like from inside it. Not a proclamation, not a war. A gate that stopped being locked. A vendor who stayed open past the hour. A city that gradually decided that the night was not something to be afraid of. And that the decision was so gradual, so incremental, so undramatic, that no one noticed it being made. He failed his examination. He was tested on his knowledge of the past, and he answered correctly on nearly everything, and it was not enough. The examination asks you to demonstrate that you understand how things were governed, how they were administered, how the principles of good order were applied across time. It does not ask you to sit on a step at the third watch and look at a street that is the living result of those principles dissolving. He is not sure, right now, which kind of knowledge is more useful. He is not sure the question has an answer. He turns it over anyway in the way he turns things over, sitting in the lamplight of a street that should not exist and does. What the collapse of the Fang system meant, in practical terms, was a release of commercial energy that the old structure had compressed. When commerce is restricted to designated areas and designated hours, it reaches a ceiling. The market closes. The transaction that would have happened at the 7th hour does not happen at all. The vendor, who might have sold one more portion of roast meat, puts out his fire instead, because there is no point in keeping it burning past the permitted time. The potential exchange, the buyer who wanted the thing, the seller who had the thing, is prevented by a rule that exists for reasons that have nothing to do with either of them. Remove the restriction, and the compressed energy expands. This is what Bianjing in 1100 is. A city in which commercial energy has been expanding freely for the better part of a century. The night market is not a novelty. It is not a recent invention. It is the mature form of something that began when the first vendor decided to stay open past curfew and found that customers would come, and that the patrol that was supposed to stop him had other things to worry about, and that tomorrow he could do it again. The Huazi entertainment districts exist for the same reason. The lamp towers exist for the same reason. Not because the city government decided that public lighting was a civic virtue, but because enough commercial activity was happening at night that it became profitable to invest in the infrastructure that made it easier. Light enables commerce. Commerce funds light. The city grows brighter and more active, and the next generation of residents grows up in a city that has always been like this, and cannot quite imagine it being otherwise. Wang Po cannot imagine it otherwise. She was born in a smaller city where the streets were quieter at night, but she came here young enough that Bianjing's rhythms became her rhythms. The shop she has run for 20 years has always been open late, because this is a city where late is when some of the best customers come. Chen Wu, down at Zhouqiao, has never questioned the hours he keeps. He arrives before dusk and works until the third watch, because that is when the bridge is busy. And the bridge is busy because the city decided a long time before Chen Wu was born that there was no reason for it not to be. Wei Ming came here from a provincial city and was startled his first nights by the light. He has been here 4 months now, and the startlement has faded into something he can observe with more detachment. A city that has found a way to extend the day, that has discovered what becomes possible when you stop treating darkness as an interruption and start treating it as a continuation. He thinks about this on his step, while the street thins around him and the lamps burn toward the end of their oil. What became possible? What was always latent, waiting for the walls to come down? In London, in 1100, the streets are dark. In Paris, in 1100, a man found outside his parish after curfew is subject to arrest. In the great cities of the Islamic world, Baghdad, Cairo, Cordoba, there is more nighttime activity than in Europe, more commercial culture, more public life after dark. But even there, the scale of what is happening in Bianjing tonight is without parallel. The largest city on earth, in the year 1100, is also the most awake. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a specific set of decisions, most of them undramatic, most of them made by people who did not know they were making history, that accumulated over a century into a city whose relationship with the night was unlike anything that existed anywhere else. And it would not last forever. Nothing does. But tonight it exists, fully, completely, at its most alive. The lamps are burning, the vendors are counting their earnings. A woman in a fragrant medicine shop on Mawang Street is updating a ledger. A man on a stone step nearby is thinking about gates that stopped being locked. Down at Zhouqiao, a fire is still burning. The night has a few more hours in it yet. The third watch arrives without announcement. There is no bell in this part of the city, no drum close enough to feel in the chest. There is only the quality of the silence between sounds, a silence that has been growing incrementally for the last hour, filling in the spaces where voices were. You notice it the way you notice a fire going down. Not the moment it happens, but a moment after, when you look up and realise the room is cooler than it was. Wei Ming notices it from his step. He has been sitting long enough that the stone has pulled the warmth from him, and he should go home, and he knows he should go home, and he does not go home yet. There is something about this hour that holds him. He has felt it every time he has stayed out this late, which is more times than he would admit to the family he rents from, who are kind people with conventional opinions about when a young man without fixed employment should be indoors. The street in front of him is not empty. It will not be empty for hours yet. But the people in it are different now. Fewer, slower, occupying the space differently than the crowd of 2 hours ago occupied it. A third watch street is a different country from a second watch street, with different customs and a different population, and Wei Ming has become, in his 4 months in this city, something of an amateur student of the distinction. He watches a man he does not recognise walk past carrying a bundle of something, cloth, maybe, or paper, wrapped and tied with cord. The man walks with the particular purposefulness of someone who knows exactly where he is going, and is accustomed to being the only person on the street at this hour who does. He does not look at Wei Ming. He turns left at the end of the block and is gone. A vendor Wei Ming has not seen before is setting up at the corner. This is the Ghost Market. Not a name anyone has given it officially. Not a district marked on any map. It is simply what happens in the deepest hours of the night, when the regular market has thinned enough to reveal the stranger commerce underneath. The vendors who appear only after the second watch, who set up in the spaces vacated by the day's traders, who sell things that are harder to categorise, and people whose reasons for being out at this hour are similarly hard to categorise. Wei Ming has seen it before. He was drawn to it the first time by accident. He had stayed out too late near the Wazi, walking, and turned a corner to find a cluster of stalls that had not been there 2 hours earlier, lit by smaller lamps, selling things he could not immediately identify. He had stood at the edge of it for a long time before he understood what he was looking at. What he was looking at was the city's other economy. Not illegal, not quite, or not entirely, but operating in the margins of the official commercial day, in the hours when the inspectors and the guild representatives have gone to bed, and the streets belong to whoever is still in them. The corner vendor tonight is selling what appears to be books, old ones. Wei Ming can see from here that the covers are worn, the paper darkened with handling. A book dealer who operates only at night is not unusual in this city, where the second-hand trade in texts moves through channels that the new bookshops on the main streets prefer not to examine too closely. Manuscripts that have passed through too many hands. Copies that may or may not be authorised, works that are technically restricted, or that were restricted once, or that someone would prefer not to have traced back to their point of origin. Wei Ming gets up from his step. He is not going to buy anything. He tells himself this as he crosses the street, which is what he always tells himself, and which is occasionally true. The book dealer is a woman of indeterminate age, somewhere between 40 and 60, with the kind of face that has settled into its final form and stopped changing. She is arranging her stock on a low table with the same systematic attention that Wang Po gives to her drawers of spice, the same implicit knowledge of what is where and what it is worth. She does not look up when Wei Ming approaches. He looks at the books. Most of them are what he expected. Worn copies of texts he recognises, the kind of thing a scholar who has fallen on hard times might sell to a dealer who asks no questions about the provenance. A commentary on the spring and autumn annals, the binding repaired twice. A collection of regulated verse, the author's name on the cover partially obscured by water damage. A geographical compendium that looks old enough to predate the current dynasty, which would make it more than a century and a half old, which, if true, would make it interesting. He picks up the geographical compendium. The paper is the texture of something that has been handled thousands of times, soft in a way that new paper is not, the fibres worn to a kind of submission. He opens it carefully. The text inside is in a hand he does not recognise, dense and slightly irregular, the kind of hand that suggests someone copying quickly, or copying by insufficient light, or both. The characters are correct. He reads a passage at random, and it is coherent, a description of the river systems of the northwest, the kind of administrative geography that would have been recorded for official purposes. He does not know if it is genuine. How much? he says. Not a question. A flat statement, which is how you say it at this hour, at this kind of stall. The woman looks up for the first time. She looks at him with the evaluating attention of someone who has been reading customers for decades. "What are you?" she says. "Scholar," he says. "Provincial." She names a price. It is not low, but it is not what she would name to someone she assessed as wealthy. She has read him correctly. Not poor enough to walk away, not rich enough to pay without thinking about it. He thinks about it for the appropriate amount of time, which is long enough to demonstrate that he is thinking, and short enough to demonstrate that he is serious. "Half that," he says. She says a number that is 2/3 of her original price, which is where it will end, and they both know it. And a moment later, it ends there. He wraps the compendium in the cloth she provides, a square of rough cotton, the standard packaging of this particular economy, and holds it under his arm. He walks on. The ghost market thickens as he moves east, which is the direction he has found it tends to go. East along the canal, away from the main lamp towers, into the parts of the city where the light is thinner and the streets are narrower, and the commerce that happens here feels older, or at least less visible in the full light of day. There are food vendors here too, but different from Chen Wu's bridge stall, different from the roast meat and the organised rows of the Zhouqiao market at its peak. These are smaller operations. A woman with a clay pot of something hot, a man with a basket of things that might be dumplings, assembled to order on a low board. The customers are the people who are awake at this hour for reasons that vary. Night soil carriers taking a break from their rounds, a group of men whose profession Wei Ming does not try to identify, a monk from one of the Buddhist temples to the north, his robes pale against the dark street, eating something from a paper fold with the focused attention of someone who has not eaten since morning. Wei Ming buys something from the clay pot woman, a ladleful of congee into a rough bowl, handed to him with a piece of pickled vegetable on top, the whole thing costing less than anything he bought earlier in the evening. He eats it standing at the edge of the street, because there is nowhere to sit, and the warmth of it moves through him in the particular way that warmth moves through a person who has been cold and sitting still for too long. The city at this hour tastes like this. Plain things, honestly priced, eaten standing up in the dark. He thinks of Liu Sansheng in the Wazi, performing the Red Cliff story to a crowd that wanted to feel something true. He thinks of the geographical compendium under his arm, which may or may not be genuine, which he bought anyway because the river descriptions were specific enough that someone had either been there or had copied faithfully from someone who had. He thinks of the examination he failed, the 6 years of preparation, the room in the testing compound where he sat for 3 days and wrote everything he knew. He passed the first stage, failed a second. He will try again, probably. Most people do. But the trying again requires going back to the province, or staying here and finding enough copying work to survive through another cycle. And he has not yet decided which. What he knows is that he is here now, in this city, at this hour, and that the city is teaching him things that the examination did not ask for, and his 6 years of preparation did not cover. How to read a street at the third watch. How to find the second economy underneath the first. How a city that removed a set of walls 100 years ago is still expanding into the space where the walls were, still discovering what becomes possible in the absence of the constraint. He finishes the congee. He hands the bowl back to the woman with the clay pot, who takes it without looking at him, already ladling for the next customer. He walks east, toward the canal. At Zhouqiao the fire is lower. Chen Wu has been here since before dusk. 7, 8 hours of standing, tending, serving, repeating the gestures that his body knows so completely that he could perform them in true darkness if the lamps went out. His hands know the distance from the fire to the meat. His hands know the weight of a portion before the scale confirms it. His hands know the particular resistance of the skewer going through the particular cut that is tonight's specialty, and the sound the meat makes when it is ready, and the moment, earlier than most vendors would call it, when the heat needs adjustment, or the product will be wrong by a degree that most customers would not notice but that Chen Wu would notice, that would remain with him the way small failures remain with people who have made something their whole practice. The crowd at the bridge is thin now. A handful of customers in the last hour. A man who arrived on foot from the south gate, travel dusty, who ate in silence with the focused relief of someone who has been on the road. 2 young men who were still animated enough to be arguing about something, who bought food as an afterthought. An older woman whose presence at this hour Chen Wu did not comment on, because the business of people at the third watch is their own business, and anyway she seemed to know what she wanted. He is thinking about whether to bank the fire or let it go. Banking it means tomorrow is easier. The coals stay warm, the start-up is faster. The first hour of the next evening does not require the full work of building heat from nothing. Not banking it means tonight is easier. He can close cleanly, wash the equipment, be home before the 4th watch, get the longer sleep that his body has been noting its need for since around the 2nd watch. He usually banks it. He banks it tonight. There is a rhythm to this decision too. The fire is not his enemy. The fire is his partner, the fixed point around which the rest of the work organises itself, and a good partner deserves to be maintained even when the evening is over. He builds the coals down with the practiced efficiency of someone who has done it 4,000 times, arranges the cover, checks the airflow. The bridge is quiet around him. The lamps are lower, the oil going down, the circle of light each one casts a little smaller than it was at midnight, the darkness between the lamps a little deeper. The Bianjing below moves in the same direction it always moves, indifferent to the hour, the water carrying the reflections of the remaining lamps in long broken shapes on the surface. Chen Wu straightens up. 10 years at this bridge, 10 years of this fire, this view, these reflections. He is not a man who thinks about his life in terms of what it means. He thinks about it in terms of what it requires, and what it produces, and whether the quality of the product justifies the work. By those measures, it justifies the work. His customers come back. His portion size is honest. His fire is reliable. He looks out at the bridge for a moment. The stone arch, the lamps, the black water below. Wei Ming reaches the canal a little before the 4th watch. He has not planned to come here. He has been walking, which is a thing he does when his thoughts are too full to stop, and the canal is simply where his walking has brought him. He stands at the edge of the water and looks east, where the sky is still fully dark, but carries in its darkness the faintest implication of something that is not yet light and will not be light for another 2 hours. The canal at this hour is not empty. There are boats, working boats, the ones that move goods through the night, low in the water with their loads, lanterns at prow and stern making small paired reflections on the water as they pass. The men on them move with the quiet efficiency of people doing familiar work in familiar darkness, calling to each other in low voices when they need to, silent when they don't. This is the city's other circulation, the one that happens on water while the streets are thinning, that never fully stops, that is moving the goods that will stock Wang Po's shelves and Chen Wu's suppliers and the bookshop owners' tables before the city wakes up to sell them. Wei Ming watches a boat pass. The lantern at its prow casts a circle of orange light on the water, and for a moment the circle is perfect, a complete ring of light to the darkness. And then the boat moves on, and the circle breaks apart into scattered reflections and disappears. He holds the geographical compendium under his arm and watches the canal, and thinks about nothing in particular, which is unusual for him, which means he is more tired than he realises. He turns and walks toward home, through the ghost market's last remaining stalls, through the streets that are quieter now than they have been since dusk, past lamps that are burning low, and will not be refilled until morning. The city breathes around him, still alive, still lit, still in its diminished and quieter third watch way, entirely itself. Dawn is still 2 hours away. The city is not asleep. It is never fully asleep. Not this city, not at any hour. But it has reached the place in the night where the difference between sleeping and waking becomes a question of degree rather than kind. The lamps that are still burning are burning lower. The streets that are still active are active more quietly. The people still out are fewer, and they move through the dark with the particular self-possession of those who have made their peace with the hour. Somewhere near Zhouqiao, a banked fire holds its heat. Somewhere on Mawang Street, a ledger lies closed on a counter, the last entries dry. Somewhere near the canal, a young man is walking home with an old book under his arm, thinking about river systems, or not thinking about anything at all. You have been in this city for, how long does it feel? An hour? Several? Time moves differently in a place like this, at an hour like this. The night market does not announce itself as an experience you are having. It simply surrounds you. And then at some point you realise that you have been inside it for longer than you knew. That it has done something to your sense of what a city is, and what a night is, and what becomes possible when someone decides to leave the lights on. That is what we have been walking through tonight. Not a festival, not a special occasion. An ordinary night in Bianjing, in the year that historians will later place near the height of the Northern Song dynasty, before the wars that will come in the next generation, before the loss of the North, before the court moves south. And the city we have walked through tonight becomes something that people remember, and painters paint from memory and poets write about as a thing that was. But tonight, it is not a memory. Tonight, it is fully itself. Chen Wu will be back tomorrow evening. He will arrive at the bridge before dusk, as he always does, carrying the same equipment in the same order, sourced from the same suppliers he has dealt with for years. He will unbank the fire he banked tonight and coax it back to the temperature he needs. He will set up his stall with the same efficiency that 10 years of repetition has made automatic, and the lamps along Zhouqiao will come on as the light fails, and the first customers of the evening will begin to arrive, and the night will begin again in the same way it always begins. Not dramatically, not with announcement, but simply by becoming. He will not think about tonight as distinct from any other night. This is not a limitation. This is the knowledge of someone who has found a thing worth doing and does it night after night with the full attention of someone who has not yet exhausted what it asks of him. There are people who stand at a fire for 10 years and stop seeing it. Chen Wu is not one of them. The fire still requires something real from him, and he still gives it, and the exchange is honest. That is not nothing. In a world full of things that are performed rather than meant, a fire that is honestly tended is something to notice. Wang Po will open the shop at the hour she always opens it. She will find the morning deliveries stacked at the back door, sorted by the assistant she employs 3 days a week, a young man from Jiangnan who is diligent and has a good nose for quality but has not yet learned to negotiate, which is something she is in no particular hurry to teach him because his diligence is useful in ways that take precedence. She will check the ledger from last night against the morning stock. She will find that the numbers align, as they almost always do, because she is careful, and because Fang, whatever his opening positions in a negotiation, does not short his deliveries. The sandalwood will be in the drawer with the label she wrote 20 years ago, in a hand that is slightly different from the hand she writes in now. The characters a little more careful, a little more deliberate, the hand of someone who was still deciding what kind of merchant she was going to be. She has decided the shop will smell the way it always smells, which is to say it will smell like everything, like 40 years of trade layered into the wood and plaster, like the accumulated presence of 10,000 transactions, like a place that has been useful for a long time and intends to continue. Wei Ming will sleep later than he should. He will wake in the room he rents near the southern gate, the geographical compendium on the floor beside him where it fell when he stopped being able to hold it upright, the light coming through the paper window at the angle that means it is well past the hour when he meant to be at the scriptorium. He will lie still for a moment, in the way that people lie still in the first moments of waking when they are not sure yet what day it is or what the day requires. He will remember the canal, the circle of light on the water, the boat moving past, the lantern at its prow, the way the circle broke apart as the boat moved on. He will get up. He will go to the scriptorium and copy texts for the hours they will pay him for. He will eat something inexpensive near the second watch. He will think probably about whether to go back to the province or stay here for another examination cycle. The same question he has been thinking about for 4 months, which he's no closer to answering, which perhaps means the answer is already made and he is simply waiting to acknowledge it. In the evening, if the weather holds, he may walk to Zhouqiao. He may buy the smallest portion from the stall at the near end of the bridge, the one run by the man with the organised fire, who has been there for 10 years and moves with the certainty of someone who knows exactly what he is doing. He may eat it leaning against the bridge railing, watching the Bianjing move south, listening to the city come alive around him for another night. He has not run out of things to notice. He does not think he will run out soon. What this city was, no other city was yet. 1 million people in one place, fed and lit and entertained and kept in motion by a commercial system so sophisticated that most of its participants could not have described it from the outside, could only experience it from within, as the vendor experiences the market, as the customer experiences the stall, as the merchant experiences the supply chain. One piece at a time, the whole invisible, the whole nonetheless functioning. The night market was the part of this that you could see if you were walking through it. The part that was lit. The part that moved at human speed, in human voices, with human faces visible across the counter. The rest of the system, the boats on the canal, the roads from the south, the guild negotiations, the harvest reports from Fujian that travelled north through 6 pairs of hands before becoming a number in a ledger on Mawang Street. The rest was invisible, as infrastructure is always invisible to the people it serves. But the night market was visible. Luminously, warmly, undeniably visible. And what it showed, to anyone paying attention, was a city that had decided, gradually, incrementally, through 1,000 small decisions made by people who did not know they were making history, that the night was not something to be locked against, that it was instead something to be lit. In a few hours, the oil lamps along Mawang Street will be refilled. The vendors who packed up tonight will begin setting up again. Chen Wu will unbank his fire. Wang Po will open her shutters. Somewhere in the city, Wei Ming will be walking towards something. The scriptorium, the bridge, the next thing that the city has to show him. The night we walked through will be gone, absorbed into the 10,000 nights that precede and follow it, indistinguishable from the outside, unforgettable to anyone who was in it. This is how it is with ordinary nights that are not, on reflection, ordinary at all. You were here. You walked these streets, stood at this bridge, breathed this air that is smoke and river and spice and the particular smell of a city that is fully, unapologetically alive. Carry it with you if you can. The lantern is going down. The scroll is nearly done. Until next time, good night and sweet dreams.